tech enthusiast and cyber adventurous to the Fifi Show.
Hello, everyone, all the cyber enthusiasts and digital detectives. Welcome back to the episode of the Fifi Show. So, I'm Shivani and I'm joined by Shruti today, and we will together be talking about art of social engineering, and we will unmask the human element in this game. So, it has been like pretty evident, like most of the times people have been like in the forefront of the every attack that we have seen.
So oftentimes, Shivani, what we think is that we are living in the cutting edge of technology, and like every day there is something new that's coming up in technology, and we think that that's technology is the only way where we would be looking hackers and imposters coming in and just try to do something bad to us. But honestly speaking, it's not even technology, it's the human link in the, what I would say, the cyber food chain. That's the weakest link that we have, because it's very easy to trick people to use their psychological behaviors and just trick them and trick them and doing something that they don't even know what they are doing, that they don't even realize what has happened and what they have been able to provide to these hackers and imposters. So many a times when we see attack, we see that there is someone. And since we are living in this digital world, a lot of times what we see is something coming up in emails or something coming up as a social media request or a LinkedIn request. Now, for us, the face has only become the social media handlers and the email addresses of the people we are talking to. We never get to know who the real face is behind those handles or behind those emails. So it has become very important for us to realize that in this age of digitization, like how do we verify the identities? How do we understand that what we are receiving is legitimate or not, or whether we should be able, whether we should be contacting those, conversing with those people or with those email IDs, or providing them information what they're requesting. So yes, so coming to your point, I believe that it's very easy to trick people because psychologically they are trained that way, that and especially if you talk about people who are not very tech yet serving critical roles. For example, someone sitting in accounts and approving invoices. So that's not a very tech role or a tech profile, but it's still critical because that person lets someone, he approves invoices for the company. That company needs to pay somebody an X amount. So yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. And the psychological part, I think that's a very good point that you touched upon, because I think these people study the psychology of the person whom they are targeting. I think they read or they research about them, and they come up with their own playbook of how to attack them. And then they look for that disgruntled employee to target and to fetch information out of them. It's a completely psychological thriller going on over here.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more, because and disgruntled employee is just one part of it. That how you can because a disgruntled employee, because it becomes an easy target, but it's not that other employees are not. So for example, one of the most common tactics of social engineering attack is phishing, where we get emails. Now what imposters or hackers try to do is they try to create a sense of urgency. And that urgency is coupled with other behaviors like fear. So for example, and I know a lot of us have received this kind of an email that, there has been a transaction done from your account and with some X amount of money in this transaction. And if you're not the one who has initiated it, please click the link below. And what happens to a very normal average person who is probably not from a tech background, and even if from a tech background, that person, when you look at this message that this X huge amount of money, there is a transaction done by this money, you really want to stop that.
Yeah.
That's the urgency, and the fear is losing money. So attackers leverage that human behavior, and they trick people to just click that link, which is probably going to take you to some website, an illegitimate bank website. We are required to put in your account number, your password, and whatnot, and everything goes to the hacker. So that's the kind of fear, that's the kind of urgency that's been produced in these emails or messages. Another very, very common thing that happens mostly in corporates is what is called as having urgency coupled with something called as power exploitation or authority exploitation. Now, what it is, so just imagine you are someone working in the accounts department, and all of a sudden you receive an email from the CEO of your company, seemingly the CEO of the company, and asking about, sending all the customer details, all the confidential information that we have regarding customers. So when someone working on in a staff level or in mid-org level in accounts department suddenly receiving from a CEO an email from the CEO, I don't think 95% of the people just send information, because it seemingly comes from a person who's having a very high authority in your organization. So that's kind of the behaviors that are being tricked by hackers, because they know they're gonna respond to it.
Yes. Most commonly also known as the founder scam, if I want to quote it. Because, and I don't think so anyone is spared of it. It happened with us as well,
Correct.
My head of alliances and partnerships, she received an email supposedly from me asking like, I am aware, and Pooja, can you just do this transaction of XYZ? I am aware, please follow these steps below. And she was like, why would Shivani send me this thing? Because this is not even her department. And why would Shivani ask her to process a payment? And then, as we always have a policy of, doing such phishing simulations. So she was aware, and, she immediately alerted me via mobile, like, Shivani, this is the kind of email I've received, and I think it is not from you. So we inspected and we found and then, everybody in the team started getting these emails, and then we had to, take care of all those. So this happens. This founder scam emails are like very prevalent, and, without a doubt, a person who is like not aware, he will immediately go and, do it because, oh my God,
Correct.
My boss is asking something me to do.
And that's the reason I couldn't emphasize more on user awareness. Like, we are living in a digital world, and it's a mandatory requirement sort of a thing that we need to be aware that, what kind of scams are going on and what we need to be aware of. It doesn't harm to just get to know, a basic general awareness of things, get to know a basic, knowledge on how to just identify a legitimate email versus an illegitimate one. It doesn't harm. So yes, we need to be aware on all these things.
Yes, user training. I think employee education is very important in this, and they are the front line of defense. If I say, they have to protect the company from any attack that is coming. And if we see real life examples of social engineering are also insane. Like I recall this one of the greatest phishing attack which happened with the giants like Google and Facebook.
Correct. Yes.
So if you remember that. So there was a guy from Lithuanian descent.
It was a smaller European nation that he was from. Correct. And he just gathered information on all of the computer manufacturers that was doing business with these giant social media giants, and what he did
set up a company.
Correct. He registered a company which was the name was very similar you just any user would not be able to identify if he doesn't look into details. The name was so similar with the legitimate actual company, and he registered that company and he opened a couple of bank accounts. And then after a couple of months doing transactions, he literally sends an invoice to the accounts department of this evicting company, and then I think it was around $100 million that was transferred as an invoice amount to the bank accounts of this person. Correct.
And just imagine, it wasn't even detected. Like it was like just so legitimate, like Google and Facebook couldn't detect, like this was like they were getting spearfished by a person.
Correct. And that's why it's very important, like why your users should be aware of whether they need to respond, like what guidelines are in place that they need to check. That, let's say, for example, if we just take this example, a very small thing, that if the amount is more than this X amount, you need to follow a process to verify the identity or verify the legitimateness of this email or invoice that's coming in.
I think paying close attention to details, because we as humans, we tend to neglect certain things where we think, okay, this sounds familiar, I think this is legitimate. So we tend to neglect some parts because we think, okay, this looks like real. Sometimes I've seen people falling in for scams. Like, if you remember, we used to get a lot of emails on our Gmail account, Prince of Lithuania and Prince of something is sending us like 100 crore rupees. Why
exactly. And you've brought up a really good point, Shivani. On a lot of organizations are focusing on user training, but one of the things culturally or naturally we should be curious about is why is the CEO emailing me? Like, he has never emailed me from the day I joined, but all of a sudden the CEO is emailing me and asking me for, let's say, customer accounts. Or just asking that, being inquisitive about that thing, like why this email is coming from me, or why this person is asking me to provide this information. And like very correctly you said that in your organization itself, like people ask, like, why Shivani is emailing me this thing, and only just being curious about that thing could lead you to verify those informations. Like, is it true, Shivani, that you have sent me this email? Just, it would lead to a validation and verification of that email or that request.
Yes, absolutely. If I go back to the initial part where I was talking about the MGM attack, similar thing happened there. Like, the attacker, he researched on the LinkedIn profile of, the help desk person, and then he took out the number. He called the help desk, pretending to be the employee of the MGM, and then asking, like, I have been logged out and I'm not able to access. And that person, like, just gave away the information, and the attacker got like the full admin access of their whole infra, and it's at his disposal. He can just do anything. So why there are not like verification steps in place if you have, like, you're not able to log in employee ID or whatever? Even if you have got hold of the employee ID, like, how can you give this sensitive information over a phone where he can take admin access? Even like usually in companies where I see people, when they are not able to log in into their system, they connect the IT, they verify, and then sometimes they even ask to bring the device, and then they will look into it. So
correct. And the MGM attack it was, I guess, more than just phishing attack, where there were loopholes and gaps in the whole process of verifying the identity, basically authenticating the user identity, and there were like controls not in place, and not technical controls, but just the process of verifying the identity of someone who's calling you or someone who is an employee or not.
Absolutely. And this doesn't even stop. I was long back, I think years back, I was in a session I was taking a session from one of the person, and she was telling about the. She calls herself as the social hacker. Like, she gets invited by companies to come and do a social engineering so that they test the resiliency of their
Okay.
organization. So one of the episodes that she was sharing was like, she entered the concert, like Brian Adam concert,
Okay.
without a ticket, pretending to be the garbage collector. And she went past and she attended the conference, like the concert of the Brian Adam concert. Like, then it was like, that's amazing. Like, how you can trick people, because I think there is certain psychological with people also going on where they tend to trust these things. I think trust comes like a very important factor in these kind of scenarios.
No, absolutely agreed. And that's why, when you trust, you don't tend to verify things because you
Okay.
already trust them. And right now, what scammers or these hackers or imposters are doing, they're leveraging trust in a sense that they're
Yeah.
creating absolutely lookalike logos and,
Mhm.
just replacing certain things and just creating these websites and pages which which looks absolutely the same, let's say looking like a very legitimate bank website. But if you just pay attention to the details, probably the name or the logo, then you'll come to know that something is wrong.
Yes.
Yes. So
Yeah.
So
Sometimes, like if we say like the bank always tells you like, I will not send any OTP or
correct.
someone will not call you for the CVV. Still, I feel like elderly people like my parents and all, they usually
That's
tend to
true.
fall for this. I have to like give them a strict warning. Okay, you don't have to give all this information. Bank won't ask it.
Correct.
And still, I've seen emails like SBI Bank. So that BANK would be like, it would be opposite. So these are certain details you have to like catch, and you have to figure out, and then you have to educate. It's not like, uh, even people of our age, if I say the mid-year age, fall for these things because I think the lack of awareness. So I
Correct.
forget about the children and the elderly, so they have to be taught. But even like the mid segment age range also falls for these things, and I think that's why we have like cybersecurity awareness month in
That's true.
October. And it's essential, and they talk about very basic things, upgrade your software, password policy, and how to verify phishing. So I think people need to invest and think about it rather than just clicking.
And the example that you gave there, sbibank.com. So
Yeah.
it would be really hard to just identify or just differentiate between SBI Bank and sbibanks.com.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
no one would rather pay attention to it and just literally
Correct.
fall for it. So, really, we need to see what we are watching, what we are reading, and we
True.
need to think. And we just need to, just need to have an eye for
Yeah.
this feeling that could it be something illegitimate, that what I'm reading or
Yeah.
what I'm about to click. Just having that kind of a mindset probably would just
Yes.
step you on the first place to from clicking something or from downloading something.
Yeah. So I would say like trust no one. Zero trust.
Exactly. And
Trust
I
no
would say
one.
trust but verify.
Yeah.
Just don't have a blind trust on just everything that you're receiving or
Absolutely.
seeing.
Absolutely. So there was also like one of the instance where we were, of phishing simulations only. Like we did like Thanksgiving we are giving away $50 gift cards, and see how many of them are like doing it, and it was really fun exercise to even do with your own people. And I think companies
Correct.
should be doing such kind of simulations, because social engineering is about studying people, finding out where they are lacking, and then attacking them and getting the information. I think that's the psychological play hackers do, and they're very proud of it. And they even like announce that I did it and this is what has
Correct.
happened. And
Correct.
it turns into a ransomware attack all of a sudden.
Absolutely, because if you do not know what you're clicking, you just do not know what's coming in your system or what's getting downloaded in your system. Trojans, malwares, and like whatnot. So lightweight, so easily executable. You won't even know what's running in the background in your system. You just would realize your system has all of a sudden gone slow. And that is it. And you'll just whine and complain about it. And that is it. But you just do not know what information is getting captured, what is getting recorded, what is getting recorded and being sent somewhere else. So yeah, everything happens.
Absolutely. So I would say like these attackers are becoming so craftier day by day. So we
and
also
complex.
Yes, and complex.
Absolutely.
So we also have to be like, up our game and, think from that perspective. And I think that would come from training, awareness, and all those.
Yes, and having that kind of a mindset, like changing that culture, in corporate, it's still relatively easy to do that because you have certain programs in place, processes in place. It's more of the impact which is on general public, general users who are not probably from tech jobs, who are not from corporate jobs, who are like parents and like people who are elderly. So Shivani, there is this really interesting story, which is actually a true story, and it happened at the time when I was living in India. So there was this kid in my neighborhood who was very, social media presence kind of a thing, very, very enthusiastic about posting everything on social media. You know how normal teenagers are. So this kid used to post every minute of her life on social media. And once she posted a picture with her family, brother and parents, and just tagged just off to XYZ city over a weekend. Now, people are crazy, kids are crazy nowadays on the just likes and whatnot. So this family went out to, I think 300 or 400 miles away from their home to visit a city for the weekend. And in the background, what happened was there were a couple of burglars who were keeping a tab on this kid's social media account. And the moment they came to know that the family is off to another city, they literally, entered the house in broad daylight at around 4 p.m. Back in India, which is, the sunlight is very
it recalls a memory. Yeah, because I think it was the 90s and that was on spur at that time because Facebook was so new and everybody wanted to post where they are.
Everybody wanted to show everybody like where we are checking in, where we are going, which hotel we are staying at, which city we have visited. And these burglars, they literally stayed the night at their house, looted them, ordered pizza, enjoyed the night at their house.
Just imagine.
Kept checking the social media account of that kid, and the moment that kid posted, hey, I'm at the railway station going back home or stuff like that, they just went away, they went out of the house. And this was all checked by the CCTV footage that the police got after they were informed of the burglary. But these things are happening. Your social media accounts have become such mirrors and to your actual personal life that everything is out in public information.
Absolutely.
And you need to make sure that these general public is aware that they do not have to share password. No one will and no one should ask for your passwords, OTPs, whatever you're receiving on phone. You don't need to share it with anybody. It doesn't matter if it's a bank employee, it's a Walmart salesperson, or whosoever it is. You're not supposed to share these information the same way you do not share your family income with just everybody. So it's something that's very valuable to you in the age that we are living in, and you're not supposed to share these things with anybody else, but to use them for yourself.
All right. So that was great tips, Shruti, and I think our listeners would get a lot of information out of this podcast. And it was a pleasure having you at the Fifi Show, and we see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shivani. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you.